Welcome back to 1819 Farmhouse Restoration, and you all know that this started as a Dixon Does It. It wasn't way before we moved into the house, so this is kind of off the beaten path. We're going to learn how to hook up well, it doesn't have to be a two-tap, but, hook up a keg, and we're going to build a chiller for, like, taking on the road, tailgate and stuff, because, football season's on the way here, so we'll learn how to do that. It's not that hard. Let's do it. All right, for those that don't know how a beer tap hooks up, let's introduce you, and then the rest of you can fast forward or something. So you've got your tap here. Usually it would have a handle on it, and then it comes out. On the back of it, and this can be like a little tiny thread in one. I mean, I've got one that goes right into a hole in a fridge, and I keep the keg and everything inside of there, and, it's a lot easier doing that. But you've got the tubes that come out of your tap that hook up to... Not that. What am I looking for? There we go. This goes on the keg. So it goes on the keg, locks in, and then push down, you're good to go. So air goes in one side and beer comes out the other. Now this one has a special tap like this. Some of them you just take your hose and compression fit onto there. So some of them are different depending on what you buy. Still not that hard. Everything can be purchased at a beer store. They're all over the place. But, all right, so now on to the build. How are we going to keep this cold? Because I've got the keg behind there, and it's just coming out. It's a warm keg. Well, you can sit it in a garbage can or a bucket. I've done that before. You buy the big giant buckets full of ice, pour it over. That kind of kept it cold. It was fine, but you don't really need to do that. What you need is a small cooler. You don't want a big cooler. You get the big cooler, now you got to keep it full of ice and water, and then it's just like, I don't know. I've got this small cooler here, little tiny guy, and you got to get your copper in there because the beer's going to come in and go through the ice and the water, not too much ice because then it might freeze, go through and then come out cold. So you got to get copper, and you can get this at your box store, It comes in rolls that are too big to fit into my cooler, so I had to roll them. It's not that hard. I got some scrap pieces here that I can show you. I found something round that fits inside the cooler, and then you want to straighten this out on the ground, and then you want to roll it up. This stuff moves pretty easily, but there's always a possibility that you could kink it. You don't want to kink it, because then nothing will flow through. This is actually a lot stiffer than that stuff. But this is just the refrigerator water line. And if you're lucky, your rubber tubing will slide right over that nice and tight, really tight, and you put a clamp on it just to get it good. Then you don't need connectors. I have different size everything, so I'll see what happens. If not, we're going to have to put a connection on the end of here that will accept the rubber tubing. All right, so I took it, I laid it out, I got down on the ground, I rolled it nice and tight, ended up with nice coils in here. They fit in here. Now, well, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drill holes, one coming in, one going out. Does it matter? No. The one could be in or out, and the other one could be in or out. But because I have two in there, I want to have two on one side and two on the other, so I don't get confused on what's in there, because I have a dual tap. If you're only doing one tap, you can just go in one side, out the other, out the front, the back. Don't go out the top, because then you can't get your ice in there, okay? Try to have it down at the bottom and then bend it up and out. Or you don't want to drill into the bottom because the water is going to melt and come out. Actually, this cooler looks dumb, because how am I supposed to get the water out? Yeah, that's pretty dumb, huh? I got cups. I'll just get the warm water out and pour some more ice in there. Whatever. Yeah, I'm going to drill some holes. Okay, so I didn't go out the sides. Or, sides. I went this way. And I had to wash it off. It's kind of dirty, but I'll wash it off again. So I got all my coils in there. Once I get, don't pack it with ice. Don't pack it with ice. I've been told it freezes. So just put some ice in there, fill it up. When you notice the ice is melted, get some of the water out, put some more ice in there. You could run your vinyl tubing through here, like I said, but copper is a way better conductor of heat. It's also a displacement of heat, so it could get rid of the heat way faster than plastic, which is an insulator and not going to get rid of the heat. So try to use copper. Is it expensive? Yeah, kinda. Then you gotta buy a cooler. You need tools. You need tubing cutter. You need a drill, you know, with a bit. You need something to drink. I mean, this is probably a 2-beer job, you know, if you're drinking fast. If you're sipping, you know, it's only 1 beer job. All right. So that's it for the people that know how to use tools and, you know, have never seen a setup before. Now let's go in for the people that have never seen a setup before. I'll show you how everything hooks up. Now, if you're getting into this for the first time, you got to put money into it. Those tanks, they're cheap to fill, but they're not cheap to acquire because you have to pay for the tank. Then you can get it refilled, and I think it's only 7 years, and then it has to be re-inspected again, and just to ship it out to get it pressure tested and all that, it's cheaper to just get a new one. Anyways, so you got your tank full of gas. And sorry, these are new people, so that's not just gas, that's carbonation, CO2. You could, if you were in England, get nitro, whatever it's called, and then you have flat beer. I don't like that, so we stick with the CO2. Now you got your keg. This is a quarter keg, a pony keg, whatever you want to call it. There are sixtils, which are smaller. There's half kegs, there's full kegs. This is the typical size of a party. A sixtil is smaller. That's what you would have in your fridge at home because you're not going to go through that much beer. I mean, I do, but I've been called a drunk before. Thank you, Jeffrey. Anyways, and then we've got our rig that we set up, and then we got our tap or tower. Like I said, the tap could be in a hole in the wall. You know, if you just want to bring your rig to a tailgate, it could be in a fridge. You know, it's just a tap. So for today, we're going to show you this monstrous thing that, you know, is really only good for parties. Now, you got your Sankey key, or, you know, depending on what style you go for, it even says gas in, so you know which one's gas, the other one beer out. You spin it in there, it locks in nice and tight, and then you pull the handle out. Ooh, maybe we should shut that off or have it hooked up first. Okay, yeah, you should have it hooked up first. Then get that in and lock it down, because that's going to release the pressure. Obviously, I'm not thinking, I'm just videotaping. So you've got your key. The gas just goes straight in. So let's get that. Where is that? Where are you? Let me go find that. Oh, there it is. All right. Typically, for 1 keg would not be this big. This is for 2 kegs, so it's pretty big. It's got 2 hoses coming off. If it had 1 keg, it would be 1 hose coming off. It should have a rubber gasket inside of there, so you don't have to get it wicked tight, but you do want to get it kind of tight. So first we're going to get it on hand tight, and then when we use the wrench is going to spin this, so we want this to be facing up. So when we tighten it, it goes like that. So let's go get a wrench. So that's another tool you're going to need for this setup. I believe this wrench worked. Yep, look at that. Okay, nice and tight. Okay, so we've got gas. We'll turn these to the off position because we'll only use this one into our 1 keg. If you have 2 kegs, of course, you would go to the other hose to the other keg. And off the keg, I got sprayed in the face. Now I'm going to smell like beer all day. I haven't even had one yet. It's only like noon. Anyways, that's going to go, so this comes underneath. So basically, this is going to there. This would go on top of there. Now, if you had this keg sitting in a fridge or a bucket of ice, you would be all done. Come on. Ta-da, done. Hooked up. Now you just got to find the gas, which is, I've heard 12, but depending on 12 psi, sorry, or a little lower, even lower. If it's a full keg, just start small, start pouring cups. Once you start getting beer and not foam, you're good to go. If it's warm, you're just going to get foam. If it's frozen, you're just going to get drips. It's working one of these is a special kind of magic. So me, I want to cut this, connect one end there and the other end to there, so it'll bypass going to here. And let me figure out how to do that. Okay, so they very, very tightly, it was very hard to get them on, but the hose went over and then I clamped it down. So if your hose does not do that, you'll have to get even bigger clamps, or then your copper might be too big. You'd have to buy a copper to go on there. They sell push fit stuff these days, but it's under pressure, so I don't know. I would have welded something on there. Some people are not capable of welding, some people are soldering or, whatnot, but, I did give it a little bit of pressure. It does not look like it's leaking. And let me get a cup. This is the part where you go, I wonder which one that is. Nope, not that one. Must be this one. Oh, it's neither. That's great. What happened? Just turn it on. That's on, that's on. Does that have to be on? I think that is on. Oh, there we go. That's what shot me in the face there. All right, I'm going to shut this off, though, because I don't want to fill the whole tank up. Come on, baby. It's that one. So then you figure out which beer is which. You hook up one, turn it on. Hey, if you have two, hey, that's the porter, and, that's the red. Okay, so not overly complicated. It's just hooking things up the right way. The complicated part is dialing it in so you're not getting too much foam and not freezing it or getting it cold enough. Those are the hard parts. Setting it up is not. But it's fun, A keg, I did the math, is on par to buying bottles, in cans. So, if you're just having a big party and you just want to bring the cans, throw the cans out when you're done. You don't have to lug all this back from your tailgate or from your, party, whatnot. That, you can think about that. But it's fun. I'm Dixon. Dixon does it. Peace out.